All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Wake and Jake. Myself, BBD, in a nice shirt that he did reveal he got from Zach, which has people in the office abuzz. Got some baseball, got some football. I think this baseball ended up being a two-parter. I'll be honest with you, redoing the intro a little bit because we're going to do all of baseball, but the American League took up a big chunk. So I think we'll do an AL segment, and then we'll do an NL segment next time. So let's go. Free agency kind of over. I mean, Beebs were giggling a second ago because it's, if you sign Profar, Andrews, and Waka, I think that could have an impact on your team. But also, I don't know. That's where I was actually looking at Jurickson Profar's free agency, and I was wondering if he's currently in a bad spot. Just because, Profar's a solid baseball player. But for any of the teams, any of the big teams, even our Yankees, does that feel like if the Yankees signed Profar right now, would we be like, yes?
You don't get stoked about
Woo! Not really.
And he's the one guy left that's you got to give him multiple years probably for what he's done.
It's
if you're a team.
Literally the position needs, he hits switch. It's kind of what the Yankees have been looking for. And still, even for the Yankees, that doesn't move the needle that much. The one guy that I hope he ends up in a cool spot, and there's a couple weird ones. Zach Greinke's floating around, but what do you really expect from him? The one guy who I still think he can probably... there's a couple guys lurking. Trey Mancini, AJ Pollock, Yuli Gurriel. There's guys like that. Brandon Belt, you could kind of talk yourself in. But free agency is basically over. And I want to go through quick with a hint to some of the trades, but there hasn't been a ton of big trades.
Not real. The biggest trade, I think, is the Varsho trade.
Varsho, Sean Murphy was kind of, the timing of that was sneaky. Teoscar
at
moves.
the beginning.
But there hasn't been a flurry of trades, and maybe that's going to happen, and maybe this is going to walk us into where teams or who will be the flurry of trades. But I wanted to walk around and see who had done well in this free agency trade cycle that hopefully we're running into a trade cycle, but a lot of these teams are kind of done. It's January. In a month, it'll be February. What's the pitchers and catchers numbers? 40-something?
I think I read an article yesterday that said the Yankees report in 6 weeks in 1 day. I guess 6 weeks from today as we're recording this, the Yankees report.
It's getting a little real. So I'll bop around quick, and we'll obviously focus on the big teams. Sneaky been tough on this team, and as we mentioned trades, and you mentioned Varsho, who I've read some different things about him, that the defense grades out off the chart. Trev was yelling about that the other day. He should get some shift hits back. I'm worried about him being in a new division, young hitter getting familiar with pitchers and NL West to AL East.
The total value of it, because they have him for 3 years, he has time to figure it out eventually.
Even if there's the warm-up year and it all clicks, the Varsho trade could be very nice for them. They signed Bassett. They signed Kevin Kiermaier, who's, he's Kevin Kiermaier. I don't know if he's batting ninth and tracking balls down in center field. There's value there. They traded away Teoscar. Remember, we did that whole trade. When we do the Blue Jays TPP, I think they've taken a step up. They added Varsho, who had a really nice year last year. He was sneaking into the NL outfield All-JM team and the catching All-JM team. They signed Chris Bassett, who, of all the free agent contracts that went down, I think his ends up looking pretty good, right? Mm-hmm. Years, money, and all of it.
Varsho knocked on the door of 30 homers.
And I think the bigger thing, they traded Teoscar and Lourdes, who I do like those guys. Hitting was never their problem. Free agency, they didn't have much to lose. Stripling, who's actually good for them, and he signs with the Giants, but Bassett for Stripling, sure. Phelps, Tapia, Bradley, Zimmer, Romo. That's not much there. So the Blue Jays sneaky kind of tipped up a baby notch. Our Yankees. Now, this one's kind of funny because Judge was the whole thing, but that's a re-signing, so that's not really getting better. Rizzo, That's a re-signing. That's not really getting better. Rodon is the trump card. But that's also balancing out Jameson, Taillon, and Benintendi, which, like...
Total value for this year?
If I told you that trade happened at midseason or you were playing your video game and it was like Rodon for Benny and Taillon, you'd be like, oh, I don't know.
Like, yeah, I'll do it.
4 starter for a 2 starter and a left fielder, like all-star, borderline all-star guy.
Just reliable.
So the Yankees, I don't know. They've retained. We keep hoping for the trade. I don't think you can bona fide say they got better. They did bring in Tommy Kahnle as well. But again, if you're starting to get into bullpen pieces like that, I mean, it's addition by subtraction a little bit with Chapman and Britton and some of those other guys. Matt Carpenter was so good for them. I mean, he's gone. Yankees are currently a net neutral, and people think the big trade is coming. They're leaning right now a lot on prospects, which, again...
Especially relative to what the Yankees do. Feels
very un-Yankee-like. That being said, they did win the division by 7 games last year. So...
And from, like, the team that was in the playoffs, they didn't have Benny, they didn't have DJ.
Right. So
Carpenter was a non-factor.
In comparison to that final team... But, again, just the free agent aspect of it, like who was added. Our Sox, I don't know, man. I did like the Justin Turner signing for them, but that was to kind of replace Xander Bogaerts, who had been, bona fide Fenway, retire the guy's number for them for the past few years. Waka, who is good for them. Rich Hill's out. JD Martinez is out. Evaldi is out. Tommy Pham, Stram, Rhyme, Hosmer. Oh, I forgot to tell you my electric open I was going to start the show with. No, there's kind of elevator etiquette. Like you just don't mix it up, especially in like an office building.
Yeah.
Like maybe
a smile nod.
If you live in an apartment and there's dogs and you see people regularly, hey, how are you? Office building's pretty high and tight. Like, let's get to our place. This lady just busted out, do any of you know Steven Katz? There's like 5 of us in there. And we're like, who are you talking to? She's like, we got a package for Steven Katz the other day. And everyone's just like, no, man, I cannot help you out with that. It ended up me and her on the elevator, and I was like, hey, have a good one. But that was just so shocking. And just like a weird part of society. Like, why are we so like that? So if you know Steven Katz, reach out. There's a package for him, I think, on the 5th floor. Red Sox, they signed Yoshida. Yoshida and Justin Turner. Corey Kluber. For all the guys going out, I don't know. They signed a couple guys in the bullpen, which had been a big weakness for them for years. Kenley and Chris Martin. I mean, maybe you could spin me an argument that you're getting back to neutral. I don't think you are. Evaldi, Bogaerts, JD Martinez. Those are guys that won you series, and
they were like on the few guys that did it for them last year,
and they didn't. They finished last year, so that's been my whole Red Sox thing. Orioles, that Adam Frazier signing, we're gonna get to next episode of Talking Baseball, I think. They also signed Gibby. They brought in our guy Gibby. So I don't know. At Orioles, you're still doing some experiment stuff. Call up Grayson Rodriguez. Gunnar Henderson, remember, he got the call. That's a whole thing. Let's see what you are, but I mean, free agency, Baltimore. They didn't make that big splash we heard about for that, they moved left field out to to sign starting pitchers. Maybe Gibby wins the sign next year. Why not?
They brought back Michael Givens.
Why not?
Come home.
Why not us? Chicago White Sox. Okay, we're back to the AL mid. It's been a minute. Jose Abreu, gone. Had been the rock of that team for a long time. Snuck in an MVP in there in the shortened season. Went to Houston. Jeez. That was early on.
In case you're wondering where this conversation's going.
That was early on, huh? And that one still sticks. AJ Pollock, gone. Cueto, gone. And Andrews, gone, who I joked about earlier. They ended up being really good for the White Sox last year. They signed Benintendi and they signed Clevenger. So I don't know. Did they get worse? I mean, they just needed to shake off the stink of last year a little bit, and I guess you say the same with the Red Sox, but Bogarts, Jose Abreu. I don't know. I know they were looking for a lot of pitchers in their bullpen to come back healthy. Their offense was lost all year. Can you say the White Sox got better? I don't think so. No. I think you're just looking to get rid of last year's stink.
Shuffle the deck a bit. But
Minnesota Twins, Trev's Twins. Did they get better? They lost Carlos Correa.
Maybe.
Maybe. Gary Sanchez, Dylan Bundy, Fulmer, Archer. Again, not to be super rude, there may be some addition by subtraction. They brought in Gallo, a little high risk, high reward. Shift is gone. I think they got worse.
Yeah.
Carlos Correa. You know, that's a guy we're talking about getting $300 million. The Cleveland Guardians, you want to hear their big free agents? Austin Hedges, which was a big one. JM's Austin Hedges went to the Pirates. Anthony Ghost, the outfielder that started pitching. Brian Shaw is still a free agent, but it feels like him and Cleveland have a weird deal that they just sign him for a number at the end of the year. And Luke Maile. They signed Josh Bell.
Yeah.
Again, this is a team that operates super small market, and they lean on their young guys. Technically, they got better in free agency. They won that division, and we just mentioned White Sox and Twins who are behind them. Kind of getting worse. Twins, I think there's a strong argument. White Sox, there's a little more balance, and they had a stink year that they just needed to get off of them. But Jose Abreu, we could also be sitting here in October like, wow.
They missed that, dude.
Yeah, the White Sox missed the best hitter in their lineup over 162 games coming off of a bad year. Detroit Tigers, I don't know.
Cleveland also gets Mike Zunino. The numbers don't stick out from last year, but the year before he was an all-JM candidate. Forget exactly where he landed. But
those catchers out, those catchers in for our guy Hedges.
Offensive threats back there.
He could be a step up. We haven't seen him in a little bit. Tigers, I don't know. I mean, Big Mike Pineda's a free agent. Let's get him to Yankees camp. That's a John Boy signature line. Andrew Chafin, they haven't signed anyone, right? I mean, nobody knows what they're doing. Matthew Boyd came back. Boyd came home. So I'm going to move on for Tigers fans.
They did a couple small ones like that, and Michael Lorenzen in town.
Michael Lorenzen, finally. Hey, maybe Tigers, you got a little better. Boyd and Lorenzen? I don't know.
Innings.
What's that?
Innings.
You got to eat them. And then our Kansas City Royals. Did they sign Jordan Lyles and Ryan Yarbrough?
That is true.
So again, we're talking about different scales here. They just traded Ryan O'Hearn, breaking to the Orioles. So put that in their win column. I think we need to stop talking about them. So, I mean, again, there's a pretty good argument one team in the AL Central got better, and it's the Guardians.
The team that already won.
Easily the best run team in that division, and they got better. And everyone else might have got worse. Out west, I just mentioned Houston. They brought in Jose Abreu, like we mentioned. Brantley and Montero, they come back. Justin Verlander gone. I mean, Cy Young winner from last year, Justin Verlander gone. So you trade him for Abreu with Yuli Gurriel on the way out. There's an argument they didn't necessarily get better losing Justin Verlander. It's almost net neutral, and this team should be graded on a different scale because they won the World Series. They are the best team, and I'll just read it off so the people hear it. Right now, this is how Fangraphs lists their lineup. Again, it's not perfect, but Altuve, Brantley, Bregman, Yordan, Abreu, Tucker, Pena. That's 7-hole Pena, who basically took down the whole league in October. And that was also righty-lefty the whole way to the 7-hole, which is just like, it's kind of, if you were playing a video game and putting together what you want your team to be, it's what it looks like. So I know they lost Verlander, but Framber, Javier, McCullers, Garcia, Urquidy, they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. There's an argument they got a half step less with Verlander, but also the way they operate, it's not. And maybe the team that was kind of on their butt or coming, Seattle Mariners, just edit that whole sentence. It looks like they signed Tommy Malone to a minor league contract, so we like that. No, they did the Teoscar trade, and Colton Wong. Mm-hmm. So they did it kind of Seattle. We heard rumors that they were going to be in on Trey Turner or another big guy. That didn't happen.
Yeah. Their fans thought they were going to make one. They thought that team was due for their next big free agent deal, and it didn't happen.
So, in free agency, they lost Adam Frazier, which we talked about a lot, Carlos Santana, Mitch Haniger, Matthew Boyd, Ken Giles. Let's see, a couple other guys floating around. Justin Upton ended up there. Sheesh. I don't know. This team is obviously banking on a lot of their young guys getting better. Luis Castillo, they traded for and extended. And they did, 2 trades for Colton Wong and Teoscar, 2 guys that Teoscar's got silver sluggers. Colton Wong's an all-star gold glover. Like,
they move off some salary and all that in the process.
I can talk myself into the Mariners got better, and maybe in a smart way with the way this free agency was. I mean, I should say a part of those trades. I mean, Jesse Winker out, although he didn't have a great year for them.
Just wasn't the spot.
Did they gain on the Astros? I talk myself into it, but the Astros...
Certainly not through free agency.
Astros also won the division by 16 games, so they're on a different scale.
Mariners also today acquired or signed Jacob Nottingham again. So,
yes,
welcome back. Begin the yo-yo.
The Milwaukee Seattle King. Follow Julio Rodriguez on Instagram. He's 22. He's dating like a young star soccer player I'm not super familiar with, but they're just like...
always doing stuff.
They're just like 22 and 20, and they're just like, oh, we own the world. And I'm kind of happy for them. Angels, they lost your Michael Lorenzen. Also, Archie Bradley, Tukey Toussaint, Matt Duffy, and Jonathan Villar.
That's a weird team.
Sometimes you hear that Angels winning formula. Take you back a little bit. They signed Brandon Drury, who, hey, maybe he figured it out, and that's a solid value sign from them. They traded for Hunter Renfroe. We like that. What else did they do? Shohei, no, the rotation. Tyler Anderson was really good. There's some Angel stink that's kind of hard to shake off sometimes. Carlos Estevez from the Rockies, they signed in their bullpen.
Oh.
He's listed as one of their 3 closers with Jimmy Hergé and Ryan Tepera. So,
Aaron Loop's still there.
I don't know. I guess they got better, but we don't talk about the Angels in a positive light.
Yeah. They got better, but there was kind of one direction to go with who's already there.
They full broke me. I'm normally not this guy with sports. I want to buy in. Last year was my last year. Until it's fixed, let me know. But lost out to Houston by 33 games. You didn't hear a 33-game difference there. And the team that was behind them, the Texas Rangers, that were 5 games back of the Angels by the end of the year, the free agents that they lost, currently no one. Cole Calhoun, Charlie Culberson, Keuchel ended up there. Ari Hara, Matt Moore. These guys are still free agents. Martin Perez was technically a free agent, but he accepted the qualifying offer. And they brought in Evaldi. They brought in Heendog and Jacob deGrom, who may be the most talented starting pitcher of all time. So they got better. Good for you, Texas Rangers. You got better through free agency.
Yeah.
Oddly haven't said that about a lot of teams so far.
They're definitively better. They're just such a deep rotation.
And your Oakland A's. Tyler Wade, minor league contract. They signed a guy from the KBO, Ruchinski. Drew Ruchinski. And they also signed Trevor May. So, there's an argument Oakland got better.
Yeah. Aledmus Diaz, Jace Peterson, they were sneaky pretty good last year, and they'll probably trade them.
Some A's BS. I mean, who definitively got better? The 68 and 94 Rangers got better.
Mm-hmm. Angels, I guess, are definitely better. But Angels stink.
I missed a team in the AL East, and people are going to be mad. The Rays. They signed Zach Eflin to their biggest free agent contract ever.
Yeah. They did that.
So that's kind of big for the Rays. Again, they operate on a different scale. Them and the Angels couldn't operate on a more opposite scale for me. If Zach Eflin signed with the Angels, I would tell you he would be horrible this year. I'm expecting Zach Eflin to be pretty damn good the next couple years. Organizations matter. Blue Jays, I think they're currently a free agency winner a little bit.
Which wouldn't have expected coming into the
Guardians,
exercise. Especially
especially compared to their division, a little bit of a free agency winner. And then out west, it's Texas. But again, there's two teams setting a very high bar there. But maybe Texas is,
getting ready to join the party.
Real starting pitchers. And again, that bodes so bad for the Angels. My God. God.
When we did it on Talking Baseball the other day, we were stumbling into like their lineup. They're sneaky a lot of pressure on our thick neck king Josh Jung.
Yeah,
kind of need him to become a guy, especially with the rest of that infield being fairly pricey.
Yeah, they need more lineup.
Him specifically, they're banking on.
And I guess this whole thing, and part of the reason we got here and landed here was good time for a brain fart. To see there is a trade cycle coming. There is a trade cycle coming with free agency cleared out. And hey, for a couple of those teams that kind of sat in the middle, maybe a Jerkson Profar or a Trey Mancini can bring them to a more comfortable level of you got better through free agency. But I think the bigger thing we find out, it's tough to get better through free agency. So you know what? I think we're going to do the NL as another episode maybe next week. So sound out below. I love you. And maybe I'll redo the open really quick, like right now.